LeBron James has hundreds of millions in contracts and endorsements, but he fails when it comes to performing under pressure. His former teammate Ray Allen was saying confidently on ESPN's Get Up program, "You don't want to give him the ball in critical moments." These words were still hanging in the air when program host Mike Greenberg was startled by information coming through his earpiece. "Ray, before you continue, we just received a new report. The Sports Psychology Institute has analyzed all playoff series over the past 25 years and developed a pressure moment performance index. When you see LeBron James's score, you won't believe it." Welcome to the Famous Stories channel. Whatever city you're watching from, please write it in the comments below. If you're curious about unknown and never-before-heard truths, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like our videos. The New York City skyline was still bathed in early morning light as the crew at ESPN Studios prepared for another edition of Get Up, the network's flagship morning program. Behind the cameras, producers rushed back and forth, checking last-minute details before going live. This particular Thursday morning promised higher ratings than usual. Ray Allen, NBA Hall of Famer and one of the greatest shooters in basketball history, was scheduled as the special guest. In the green room, Allen was reviewing his notes. At 47, he still maintained the disciplined preparation that had defined his playing career. When a production assistant informed him they'd be discussing LeBron James's playoff performances, Allen nodded, a slight smile forming on his face. He had played alongside LeBron during the Miami Heat's championship runs, witnessing both the triumphs and struggles of the man many considered basketball's greatest active player. As the clock struck 8:15 a.m., the red lights on the cameras illuminated, and ESPN's popular morning program Get Up began discussing the NBA agenda. The sleek studio, with its modern decor and multiple screens displaying basketball highlights, created the perfect backdrop for sports debate. Host Mike Greenberg, known for his meticulous research and smooth delivery, welcomed viewers before introducing the day's special guest. "We're joined today by someone who knows what it takes to perform under pressure. 10-time NBA All-Star, 2-time NBA champion, and one of the deadliest shooters the game has ever seen, Ray Allen," Greenberg announced with enthusiasm. The camera panned to Allen, dressed immaculately in a tailored navy suit, who acknowledged the introduction with a professional nod. After discussing several NBA topics including the previous night's games and upcoming playoff matchups, Greenberg steered the conversation toward a perennial debate topic, LeBron James's legacy and performance in critical moments. "Ray, many basketball fans see LeBron James as one of the greatest players of all time. His performance in the playoffs is a constant topic of discussion," Greenberg began, setting the stage carefully. "You won a championship with him at Miami Heat. What do you think about LeBron's performance under pressure?" The studio fell quiet, anticipating insight from someone who had shared the court with James during some of his most pivotal career moments. Allen straightened in his chair, his expression turning serious. "Mike, LeBron is an amazing athlete, an amazing player," Allen began, his voice carrying the authority that comes with a Hall of Fame career. "His physical gifts are undeniable, and his basketball IQ is off the charts." He paused, and the shift in tone was palpable. "But in pressure moments, especially critical moments in the playoffs, I've seen multiple times when LeBron wasn't mentally ready." The other analysts in the studio, former NBA player Jalen Rose and former NFL player Damian Woody, exchanged surprised glances. Criticizing LeBron James was not something many former teammates did publicly, especially someone of Allen's stature. Gaining confidence from the reaction, Allen continued, "LeBron James has hundreds of millions in contracts and endorsements, but he fails when it comes to performing under pressure. You don't want to give him the ball in critical moments." The statement hung in the air like a challenge. The control room erupted in activity, with the executive producer signaling to Greenberg through his earpiece that this clip would be headline material across sports media within minutes. Greenberg, a consummate professional, knew how to navigate controversial moments. "That's quite a striking comment, Ray," Greenberg responded, leaning forward slightly. "After all, you won a championship with LeBron in 2013 and hit a critical three-pointer in those finals. Could you elaborate on your view a bit?" Allen nodded, seemingly prepared for this follow-up. "Sure. Look, everyone remembers that famous three-pointer I hit in the 2013 finals against San Antonio. Game 6. We're down by 3, less than 10 seconds left." His hands moved as he recreated the moment. "But why did I take that shot? Because LeBron didn't want the ball in the final seconds. He took a three-pointer before that and missed. He completely disappeared in the 2011 finals against Dallas. Averaged just 17.8 points when he was a 26-point-per-game scorer that season. He collapsed in the final game against Boston in 2010 before he even joined us in Miami. I could give more examples. The studio atmosphere grew increasingly tense. Production assistants were frantically typing on their phones, likely alerting social media teams to the unfolding drama. On the set, Jalen Rose, who had built his post-playing career on thoughtful basketball analysis, decided to challenge Allen's assessment. "Ray, I respect your career and your perspective as someone who played with LeBron," Rose began diplomatically, "but I don't agree with your assessment. LeBron has had many great moments throughout his career that show tremendous mental toughness. Don't you remember the comeback from 3-1 against the Warriors in 2016? Or Game 6 against Boston in 2012 when he put up 45 points with the season on the line?" Allen shook his head dismissively. Kyrie Irving hit the critical shot in that 2016 series, the game winner in Game 7. And yes, LeBron had that great game against Boston, but that was an elimination game, not a championship-clinching moment. He leaned back in his chair. "I'm not denying that LeBron has had great moments in his career, but I think he's not really ready when the pressure is most intense, when everything is on the line. That's the difference between him and someone like Jordan or Kobe." Mentioning Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, two players renowned for their clutch performances, as superior to LeBron was throwing gasoline on an already blazing fire. Basketball debates about the three players had consumed countless hours of sports programming and millions of social media posts. As Allen was speaking, a commotion could be seen at the back of the studio. Emily Chen, one of the program's senior producers, was rushing toward the set with a tablet in hand, frantically waving to get Greenberg's attention. The host, noticing the unusual interruption, glanced toward her with a puzzled expression. Chen approached Greenberg and whispered something in his ear, then handed him the tablet. As Greenberg examined what was on the screen, his expression gradually transformed from curiosity to astonishment. His eyebrows raised, and he looked back at Chen as if confirming what he was seeing was legitimate. She nodded firmly. "Ray, before you continue," said Greenberg, still processing the information he'd just received. He didn't take his eyes off the tablet as he spoke. "We just received a new report that's directly relevant to this discussion. The Sports Psychology Institute has analyzed all playoff series over the past 25 years and developed something called a Pressure Moment Performance Index." Greenberg paused briefly, creating a moment of television tension that producers dream about. The control room director immediately ordered the cameras to focus on Allen's reaction. "When you see LeBron James's score, you won't believe it." Everyone in the studio leaned forward curiously. Viewers at home could see a slight unease appear on Allen's face, the first crack in his confident demeanor since the segment began. "What's this score?" Allen asked, his voice betraying a hint of defensiveness. Greenberg looked at the tablet again, scrolling through what appeared to be a detailed report. The Sports Psychology Institute, which I should mention is one of the most respected research institutions in athletic performance analysis, has analyzed all playoff games played since They've defined pressure moments as specific situations, games played with a difference of 5 points or less in the last 5 minutes, overtime minutes, and final quarters of series-ending games. He continued reading. They calculated players' shooting percentage, assist-to-turnover ratio, defensive efficiency, and winning percentage in these situations. They've even incorporated heart rate data from wearable technology used in recent seasons, along with quantifiable stress indicators like body language and facial expressions analyzed by AI. The level of detail in the methodology seemed to surprise even Greenberg, who had covered sports for decades. The control room was now feeding graphics to the monitors, showing visual representations of the report's findings. Jalen Rose, who had been listening intently, couldn't contain his curiosity any longer. "And what's LeBron's result?" he asked eagerly. Greenberg looked directly at the camera, then at Allen. "This is the highest score among all star players analyzed across the full 25-year period. Michael Jordan is in second place with 94 points. A wave of amazement spread through the studio. The camera caught Allen's expression freezing in shock, his mouth slightly open as if preparing a rebuttal that wouldn't come. How is this possible?" Allen finally managed, the surprise evident in his voice. "I mean, I played with LeBron in critical moments." His voice trailed off as he struggled to reconcile his personal observations with the scientific data being presented. Greenberg, sensing the powerful television moment unfolding, continued reading from the report. "The researchers write, LeBron James averaged 28.7.8 rebounds and 7.3 assists in situations defined as pressure moments throughout his playoff career. His shooting percentage is 2.3 points above his normal playoff average during these moments, indicating he becomes more efficient, not less, under pressure." his defensive efficiency index enabled his opponents to play with a shooting percentage 8.7% lower in these moments, showing his defensive intensity increases with pressure. Most importantly, his teams have a winning percentage of 72.4% in these situations, the highest among all players with at least 50 such moments. The studio had fallen completely silent. Even the crew members who normally remained invisible behind the cameras were watching the unfolding scene with rapt attention. Jalen Rose, unable to resist the opportunity, smiled broadly. "This paints a completely opposite picture to what Ray just said, doesn't it?" The question hung in the air, pointed but not malicious. Allen shifted uncomfortably in his seat, the former sharpshooter now finding himself on the defensive. The man who had made a career of staying cool under pressure was visibly struggling to maintain his composure. He cleared his throat before responding. "Look, statistics don't tell the whole story," Allen said, his tone more measured than before. "Analytics can't capture everything you see and feel on the court, because I was on the court with him in the huddles in the locker room." Before Allen could complete his thought, Greenberg interrupted, still examining the report on the tablet. "Ray, the report has specifically examined the 2013 Miami Heat playoff series, which you were part of," he noted. "In that playoff series, LeBron averaged 31.5 points in pressure moments across 11 games, with a shooting percentage of 57.3%. It also notes that in the position before your famous three-pointer, LeBron hit a three-pointer that brought the team back into the game. Without his three-pointer first, yours wouldn't have mattered." Allen shifted slightly in his seat, the memory of that sequence clearly playing in his mind. "Yes, LeBron made that shot, but, at that moment, Emily Chen entered the studio again and handed Greenberg another note. After reading it, a slight smile appeared on the host's face. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special opportunity," Greenberg announced. Dr. Marcus Thompson, who led the research team behind this study at the Sports Psychology Institute, is available and joining our live broadcast right now to discuss these findings. The large screen in the studio illuminated to show a video feed of a distinguished-looking man in his 50s. Dr. Thompson, with salt and pepper hair and wearing glasses, projected the calm authority of someone accustomed to presenting scientific findings to skeptical audiences. "Dr. Thompson, welcome to our program," said Greenberg. "We appreciate you joining us on such short notice. We were just discussing your study during what's become quite a heated debate. Could you give us some information about this research and why you undertook it?" After thanking Greenberg for the invitation, Dr. Thompson began speaking with the measured cadence of an academic. "With pleasure, Mike. Our team at the Sports Psychology Institute has been analyzing treasure moment performances in the NBA for 3 years now. This has been a comprehensive study involving not just statisticians but also sports psychologists, former players, and even specialists in body language and physiological stress responses," he continued, warming to the subject. "We looked not only at numerical data like points and percentages, but also at more subtle factors, game flow, defensive intensity, decision-making processes, and various psychological factors that can be quantified. While it's not surprising that LeBron James performs well in this category given his overall career excellence, we were genuinely impressed by how significant the gap was between him and other all-time greats." Greenberg, skilled at guiding conversations toward the most interesting points, asked the question that viewers were likely wondering. "What could be the reason LeBron scored so high in your index? What makes him special under pressure compared to other superstars?" "There are 3 main factors that emerged from our analysis," Dr. Thompson explained, as graphics appeared on screen illustrating his points. "First, LeBron's decision-making ability under pressure is truly exceptional. Looking at the statistics, in close games in the last 5 minutes, LeBron's assist-to-turnover ratio is 4.21, which is the highest ratio in NBA history for such situations. He makes remarkably few mistakes when the pressure is highest." The doctor continued, "Second, his ability to elevate both offensive and defensive performance simultaneously in clutch moments is unprecedented. Most superstar players show increased offensive output in critical moments but may conserve energy on defense. Others lock down defensively but become less efficient scorers. LeBron shows statistically significant improvement in both areas simultaneously. And the third factor, his performance in series-ending games, meaning Game 7s, or games with sweep potential like 4-0, 4-1 situations, shows a dramatic increase in efficiency compared to his already elite baseline," Thompson explained. "In these ultimate pressure situations, his shooting efficiency increases by nearly 4 percentage points, while his defensive impact metrics show he forces opponents into significantly tougher shots. Ray Allen had been listening intently, his expression a mixture of surprise and professional skepticism. Finally, he collected himself and spoke up, addressing Dr. Thompson directly. "Dr. Thompson, I played alongside LeBron and have great respect for him as an athlete," Allen began, his tone more respectful than earlier. "But these statistics, impressive as they are, don't show everything. They don't show body language under pressure, moments of hesitation, or the subtle ways players can sometimes defer responsibility. When you're on the court," Dr. Thompson politely but firmly interjected. "Mr. Allen, I understand your perspective as someone who competed at the highest level. That's why in our study we also incorporated analysis of players' body language, posture and nonverbal behaviors during pressure situations. A panel of former NBA referees, coaches and body language experts examined game footage in critical moments, scoring players on visible signs of confidence, composure and leadership." This revelation seemed to catch Allen off guard. "So you looked at—" "Yes," Dr. Thompson confirmed. "We analyzed factors like communication with teammates, demeanor during timeouts, and reactions to both success and failure in critical moments." LeBron James also received the highest score in the calmness and concentration category, showing fewer signs of stress and anxiety than other superstars in similar situations. The studio had become completely silent. The production team, recognizing the compelling television unfolding, had let the segment run well beyond its scheduled time. Additionally, Dr. Thompson continued, seemingly aware that his findings were challenging a Hall of Famer's direct observations. "We specifically examined the 2013 NBA Finals that Mr. Allen referenced. In the position before your famous three-pointer in Game 6, LeBron hit a critical three-pointer that reduced the difference to 3 points. In the camera angles we analyzed, it's clearly visible that he wanted the ball and directed his teammates in that critical moment, contrary to the narrative that he shied away from responsibility." Allen remained silent, his usual eloquence momentarily abandoned. The tension in the studio was palpable, with neither Greenberg nor the other analyst rushing to fill the silence. In control rooms across ESPN, executives were likely celebrating the viral moment they knew was unfolding. Finally, Jalen Rose intervened to ease the tension. "Dr. Thompson, your research presents a fascinating perspective. I'm curious, how did other legendary players like Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant perform in this index? They're often considered the benchmark for clutch performance." Dr. Thompson seemed grateful for the question, and the large screen in the studio displayed a colorful graph ranking various NBA legends according to their pressure performance scores. "Michael Jordan is in second place with 94 points, Thompson explained. "He scored exceptionally high, especially in shot selection and performances in final series. His legendary competitiveness is fully supported by the data. Kobe Bryant is in third place with 89 points, particularly impressive in his ability to make extremely difficult shots under pressure and in stopping opponents on defense." As the graph expanded, Thompson added an interesting note. "What might surprise many is that Larry Bird is just behind Jordan with 92 points. Bird's decision-making and shooting efficiency under pressure were remarkably similar to LeBron's, though in a different era with different defensive rules." Mike Greenberg, sensing an opportunity to explore the disconnect between perception and reality, posed a question that went to the heart of the debate. "Dr. Thompson, you've presented compelling evidence about LeBron's excellence under pressure. Why then does the common perception about LeBron James often contradict these facts? Why don't many fans and analysts see him as the ultimate clutch player despite what the data suggests?" "That's a very interesting psychological question," said Dr. Thompson, clearly appreciating the depth of Greenberg's inquiry. "There are several reasons for this perception gap. First, his performance in the 2011 Finals against Dallas was genuinely poor under pressure. There's no denying that. This can be considered the only real mental breakdown in LeBron's career, but it happened on one of the biggest stages possible, creating a powerful negative impression that has persisted." Thompson continued his analysis. "Second, LeBron often prefers to make the optimal basketball play rather than taking the shot himself. Although our data shows this is usually the right decision strategically, some people interpret this as avoiding responsibility rather than smart basketball. The cultural expectation that the superstar should always take the last shot is deeply ingrained in basketball mythology." And finally, Thompson concluded, "While players like Jordan and Kobe cultivated and embraced a specific type of killer instinct persona, LeBron has a more analytical approach to pressure situations. Different psychological approaches can be equally effective, but fans often respond more emotionally to the more aggressive demeanor." Ray Allen had been listening thoughtfully to Dr. Thompson's analysis, his initial defensiveness gradually giving way to professional consideration. Finally, he spoke up again, his tone noticeably more measured. "Dr. Thompson, as a researcher whose methodology appears quite thorough, I'd like to ask you specifically about LeBron's 2011 Dallas series," Allen said, "because that series, where I saw him struggle significantly, forms much of the basis for my view of his performance under pressure." Dr. Thompson nodded, acknowledging the valid question. "You're absolutely right to highlight that series, Mr. Allen. The 2011 Finals was indeed an anomaly, and a turning point for LeBron. His mental toughness score in that series was only 62, the lowest score of his entire career by a significant margin. The data fully supports your observation about that specific series." Then Thompson added the crucial context. "But what's fascinating from a psychological perspective is what happened after that failure. After the 2011 Finals, his mental toughness score rose dramatically, almost as if the experience transformed his approach to pressure. From 2012 onwards, his score never fell below 90 in any playoff series. In fact, he recorded his highest scores, 97 and 98, in the 2013 and 2014 seasons when he played alongside you on the Heat." This information seemed to give Allen pause for thought. His expression shifted as he absorbed this perspective on a teammate he thought he had fully understood. The control room, sensing a potential breakthrough moment, kept the cameras focused tightly on Allen's face. Greenberg, ever the skilled interviewer, directed one final question to Dr. Thompson. "How have your findings been received in NBA circles? Are teams and players incorporating this research into their approaches? Our study has been published in peer-reviewed sports science journals, and our statistical methodology has been validated by the basketball analytics community," said Dr. Thompson. "We've been pleased to see that many NBA teams have started using our model in player evaluations and even in developing pressure training protocols. The Milwaukee Bucks and Boston Celtics have been particularly interested in implementing our findings," he added with a smile. However, emotions and biases always play a role in basketball discussions. Some people may be uncomfortable when data contradicts their perceptions or challenges long-held narratives. That's natural and part of what makes sports discourse so engaging. After thanking Dr. Thompson for his insights, Greenberg turned back to Allen, offering him a chance to respond to the wealth of information that had just challenged his earlier assertions. "Ray, in light of this data and Dr. Thompson's analysis, would you like to reassess your views on LeBron's performance under pressure?" Greenberg asked, his tone professional but with an undercurrent of knowing he was creating a moment of potential reconciliation or doubling down. Allen remained silent for a moment, his face suggesting an internal debate. Then, with the poise that had characterized his 18-year NBA career, he responded, "Look, I still trust my experiences on the court," Allen began, standing his ground partially. "When you're in the game, you develop instincts and perceptions that are hard to shake." Then his tone softened. "But Dr. Thompson's research is clearly comprehensive and methodologically sound. I have too much respect for data and analysis to simply ignore what he's presented. Perhaps I may not have fully appreciated the entirety of LeBron's performance under pressure, especially how he evolved after that 2011 series." Jalen Rose, seizing the opportunity to bridge perspectives, interjected, "Ray, there's something else I think is worth appreciating here. How LeBron took that terrible failure in the 2011 Finals, which you correctly identified, and used it to transform himself. Maybe that initial failure, and how he responded to it, is what ultimately made LeBron who he is today. That kind of resilience is its own form of mental toughness." Allen nodded thoughtfully. "That's a fair comment, Jalen. LeBron certainly showed tremendous improvement throughout his career. The player he became by 2013 when I joined the Heat was already showing much more composure than earlier in his career." Before the program went to commercial break, Greenberg summarized the segment. "We experienced an unexpected and illuminating debate this morning. Hall of Famer Ray Allen's perspective on LeBron James based on his direct experience, challenged by the striking scientific findings of the Sports Psychology Institute. We once again saw how complex basketball analysis can be, and how even legends of the game can have different interpretations of what they've witnessed." As the program cut to commercial, the Allen versus LeBron debate was already spreading across the sports media ecosystem. Within minutes, clips were being shared on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. The hashtags LeBron under pressure, Allen was wrong, and mental toughness began trending nationwide. Just an hour after the program concluded, LeBron James himself weighed in with a brief message on his social media accounts. With his typical blend of confidence and subtle shade, he posted, "Numbers don't lie, but sometimes people do. Speak would lie the." The post immediately garnered hundreds of thousands of likes and further amplified the conversation. Sports commentators and former players from across the basketball world began sharing their own perspectives on the subject. The debate had transcended morning television to become the sports topic of the day. ESPN, recognizing the momentum behind the story, decided to make it the centerpiece of their evening program NBA Today. In their afternoon production meeting, the show's producers planned an entire segment dedicated to the controversy, lining up additional experts and former players to weigh in. When NBA Today aired that evening, host Malika Andrews opened the show by addressing the morning's viral moment. Earlier today, Hall of Famer Ray Allen made headlines when he criticized the performance of his former teammate LeBron James under pressure. However, a new report from the Sports Psychology Institute revealed that LeBron has the highest pressure performance score of all time in critical moments. This contradiction has sparked intense debate throughout the basketball world, and we're going to dig deeper into it tonight. Former NBA player and analyst Kendrick Perkins, known for his outspoken opinions, was among the guests on the program. As someone who had played alongside LeBron in Cleveland, Perkins had a clear perspective on the matter. "I have tremendous respect for Ray Allen, a Hall of Fame player who changed the game with his shooting," began Perkins, his deep voice carrying authority. "But on this issue he's completely wrong. I played with LeBron, and I've never seen a player more calm, more focused under pressure." Perkins leaned forward, his passion evident. "Remember his last-second shot against Toronto in the 2018 playoffs? Remember when he scored the final 25 points against the Pistons when he was in Cleveland? Or in 2016 coming back from 3-1 down to beat the 73-win Warriors? That's the definition of performing under pressure." The program's other guest, former NBA coach and analyst Stan Van Gundy, took a more analytical approach to the topic. The report from the Sports Psychology Institute is fascinating because it quantifies something we've often discussed in subjective terms. In basketball, we often become prisoners of narratives and perceptions. A label forms on a player early in their career, and it becomes almost impossible to escape that label regardless of what happens afterward. Van Gundy adjusted his glasses before continuing. "This is certainly the case for LeBron. His performance in that 2011 Finals series against Dallas, which, let's be clear, was genuinely poor, still feeds the perception that he's not clutch, even though all subsequent evidence points in the opposite direction. It's a powerful illustration of confirmation bias in sports analysis." Meanwhile, former Miami Heat head coach Erik Spoelstra was asked about the controversy during a pre-game press conference for his team's matchup that night. "I worked closely with LeBron James for 4 years and we battled together through intensely competitive final series," Spoelstra said thoughtfully. "I always admired his mental toughness and ability to focus under the most extreme pressure. That Dallas series in 2011 was difficult, no question, but LeBron learned profound lessons from that experience. From 2012 onwards, his performance under pressure reached an incredible level that I haven't seen matched." Spoelstra added pointedly, "Ray Allen, being with us during that period, witnessed this development firsthand. Ray hit one of the greatest clutch shots in NBA history, but the reason that shot was possible was because of LeBron's leadership throughout that playoff run and in the moments leading up to that shot." As discussions continued across sports media, Ray Allen appeared to be reconsidering his position. Later that afternoon, he released a statement through his social media accounts. "My comments this morning about LeBron James seem to have been interpreted more strongly than intended and perhaps taken somewhat out of context. I have enormous respect for LeBron James and believe he is unquestionably one of the greatest players in basketball history. After reviewing the Sports Psychology Institute's report and reflecting on our time as teammates, I recognize that my perspective may have been unduly influenced by specific moments rather than the complete body of evidence. I'll be examining the research more thoroughly and may need to reconsider aspects of my assessment. Basketball discussions should always be open to new evidence and perspectives, and I've always tried to respect data and analytics in understanding the game." That evening, NBA TV's special program LeBron Under Pressure presented a comprehensive look at James's most significant pressure performances throughout his career. 2007, his remarkable performance against the Detroit Pistons in the Eastern Conference Finals, where he scored 25 consecutive points in the fourth quarter and overtime of Game 5, carrying an otherwise limited Cleveland team. 2012, the elimination game against Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals, where he put up 45 points and 15 rebounds with his team down 3-2 in the series. a performance widely considered a turning point in his career. 2013, his critical three-pointer and subsequent defensive stop in the final minutes of Game 6 of the Finals against San Antonio, setting up Ray Allen's famous shot that saved the series. 2016, the historic comeback from a 3-1 deficit against the 73-win Golden State Warriors, including his iconic block on Andre Iguodala in Game 7 that many consider the defensive play of the decade. 2018, his buzzer beater against Indiana in the first round and his fadeaway game winner over Toronto in the second round, part of a playoff run where he carried a limited supporting cast to the finals. About 24 hours after the debate began, LeBron James made his first comprehensive statement on the subject. Speaking with the press after a Los Angeles Lakers practice session, James addressed the situation with characteristic composure. "I heard about Ray Allen's comments and the subsequent discussion," James began, his tone measured but confident. "I don't have any resentment toward Ray. He was a tremendous player, a great teammate, and we accomplished something special together in Miami. Everyone is entitled to their opinion based on their experiences." James continued, "Throughout my career I've tried to focus on doing my job on the court and contributing to my team's success in whatever way necessary. Sometimes that means scoring, sometimes playmaking, sometimes defense. Statistics and data can provide one perspective, but the ultimate measure is winning." He added with a slight smile, "In my 20-year career, I've always embraced pressure situations. Those are the moments we dream about as kids shooting in the driveway. I've had successes in those moments, and I've had failures too, but I've never shied away from them. I've always wanted to be on the court when the game is on the line." A week after the controversy began, an unexpected development occurred that seemed to bring the story full circle. Ray Allen and LeBron James were photographed together at a charity golf event in Miami, benefiting youth education initiatives. The images, which quickly spread across social media, showed the two former teammates engaged in what appeared to be a friendly and animated conversation. Responding to questions from the press afterward, Allen offered his most definitive statement yet on the matter. "LeBron and I had a good, honest conversation today," Allen said. "He was my teammate and I've always had tremendous respect for him as a player and person. Sometimes in the context of sports discussions, points can be exaggerated or misunderstood. After thoroughly examining the Sports Psychology Institute's report and reflecting on our time together, I've come to recognize that I didn't give sufficient credit to LeBron's performance under pressure, particularly how he evolved after those early challenges." Allen continued thoughtfully, "Some of my perceptions were probably shaped by specific moments from the earlier years of his career, and I may have allowed those impressions to overshadow the remarkable growth he showed subsequently. The data is compelling, and as someone who respects the analytical side of basketball, I have to acknowledge what it reveals." After these developments, ESPN featured Ray Allen again on the Get Up program, where the controversy had begun. Sitting across from Mike Greenberg once again, Allen seemed more reflective than during his previous appearance. "After reviewing the Sports Psychology Institute's report in detail, I have to say it was genuinely eye-opening," Allen admitted. "The comprehensive nature of their analysis, looking at not just statistics but the psychological and physical aspects of pressure performance, presents a compelling case. Looking at the data objectively, I must acknowledge that LeBron is statistically speaking the most effective clutch player in modern basketball history." The debate led to a reassessment of the concept of performance under pressure in the basketball world. Sports psychologists and analysts began to question how they evaluated whether a player was clutch or not. Traditionally, players who took last-second shots and displayed killer instinct were considered clutch. However, LeBron's different style, being able to both score and find teammates in the best position in critical moments, suggested a new definition of clutch. A month after the debate began, Ray Allen shared an old photo with LeBron James on his social media account. In the photo taken during the 2013 NBA Finals championship celebration, Allen and James were hugging each other. Allen added this note under the photo: "Championship memories. It was a privilege to play with LeBron James. Sharing the court with one of the greatest players in history was one of the most unforgettable experiences of my career." All these developments significantly changed the perception of LeBron James and pressure moments in the basketball world. The debate started by Ray Allen had unexpectedly strengthened LeBron's reputation in this area. Ironically, Allen's criticisms had led to a more detailed examination of LeBron's performance under pressure and scientific proof of his superiority in this area. And perhaps most importantly, one of the biggest criticism points in LeBron James's career, the claim that he crumbles under pressure, had now largely lost its validity. The debate started by Ray Allen had unexpectedly strengthened one of the most controversial aspects of LeBron's basketball legacy. NBA legend and Charlotte Hornets owner Michael Jordan, notoriously selective about his public comments on current players, broke his silence on the subject in a rare interview with The Athletic. "LeBron is undoubtedly the most dominant and complete player of his generation," Jordan stated, his words carrying the weight that comes with being widely considered the greatest of all time. "I've always been impressed by his ability to perform under extreme pressure while maintaining his vision of the entire court. In my era, we played a different style with different rules and a different basketball culture. Each generation produces its own legendary figures, and LeBron has clearly defined this era of basketball." Coming from Jordan, whose competitive nature and reluctance to praise potential rivals to his GOAT status were well documented, these comments were seen as particularly meaningful. Basketball analysts interpreted Jordan's statement as one of the strongest possible rebuttals to Allen's original criticism. The Sports Psychology Institute's groundbreaking report also resonated in wider circles. Several NBA teams announced that they had begun incorporating the Pressure Moment Performance Index methodology into their player evaluation processes and training regimens. The Dallas Mavericks and Boston Celtics were reportedly developing specific pressure simulation drills for their practice sessions, designed to help players improve their performance in high-stakes situations. The psychological aspects of the findings also attracted attention from coaches at all levels. High school and college programs began reaching out to the Sports Psychology Institute for guidance on developing mental toughness in young players. Dr. Thompson and his team announced they would be creating educational resources to help coaches at all levels implement evidence-based approaches to pressure performance training. Steve Kerr, head coach of the Golden State Warriors and former teammate of Michael Jordan with the Chicago Bulls, offered a particularly insightful perspective in an NBA TV documentary titled Clutch, Redefined, that was produced in the weeks following the controversy. "I had the privilege of playing alongside Michael Jordan and witnessing his approach to pressure moments firsthand. I also coached against LeBron James in 4 consecutive NBA Finals. These are 2 of the greatest competitors in sports history, but they approach pressure very differently." Kerr explained, "Michael typically wanted to take the final shot himself. It was part of his identity as a player. LeBron tends to make what he believes is the optimal basketball decision in each situation. Sometimes that means taking the shot himself, sometimes finding an open teammate. The data now shows that LeBron's approach is at least as effective as Michael's, though it may not always fit the traditional narrative of what clutch looks like." He concluded with an observation that resonated with many basketball purists. "Being clutch isn't about adhering to a specific template or meeting external expectations. It's about maximizing your team's chances of winning in the highest pressure moments." Both Jordan and LeBron did that brilliantly in their own ways. The ripple effects of the controversy continued to spread throughout basketball culture. Dr. Jennifer Williams, a renowned sports psychologist who had worked with Olympic athletes, commented during a panel discussion at Harvard University, "The LeBron James case study provides a perfect illustration of resilience and growth following failure. After that challenging performance in the 2011 finals, he completely transformed his mental approach to pressure situations. Rather than being defined by that failure, he used it as a catalyst for extraordinary development." The implications of the research extended beyond basketball, influencing how mental performance was evaluated and trained across various sports. Several Olympic teams reported incorporating elements of the Pressure Moment Performance Index methodology into their preparation for the upcoming games. As LeBron James led the Los Angeles Lakers into another playoff campaign the following season, a noticeable shift occurred in how his performances in critical moments were discussed and evaluated. When James orchestrated fourth-quarter comebacks or made crucial plays in close games, commentators increasingly referenced the Sports Psychology Institute's findings. Thunderous MVP chants would erupt from home crowds whenever James took control in the closing minutes of tight contests. Years later, basketball historians and analysts would frequently cite this episode as the perfect example of how criticism, when subjected to rigorous analysis, can transform into validation. What began as a potential blemish on James's reputation had become instead another testament to his greatness and to the value of data-driven analysis in sports discourse. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like this video. What do you think about this topic? Please write in the comments below. See you in the next video.